Look how full my shop is. Wall-to-wall muscle cars. I use up every square inch in my shop. I'm staying here late tonight so I can get some work done. And at the same time, I'm going to show you guys some secrets.
The name over the door says Indie Auto, but to the regulars who have hung around here for years, this little automotive shop is known as Nick's Garage. Nick has one full-time mechanic on staff, and a team of part-time specialists who help him build dreams for his clientele from all over the world. But the driving force that powers the shop is Nick himself. His incredible passion and boundless energy are what keep the lights on. The dream engines that Nick builds come about because of countless hours of hard work, many of which happen after most people are at home with their feet up at the end of the day.
Here we are, another day at work. Now that everybody's gone, they picked up their cars, are gone, I finally got a spot on my lot to park my own personal vehicle. You know that everybody's gone home, like most people do, they go home at this time. I'm just gonna park my truck on my lot, and then I gotta go back to work in my shop. And sometimes I do some work after hours because I don't wanna be bothered or disturbed with what I'm doing. I wanna concentrate what I'm doing. So let me park my truck, and let's go to the shop and start a new shift tonight. You know, I had the tires installed this morning. Yeah, you know, we gotta change our tires here because in Quebec, you need snow tires with a snowflake to drive for the winter. But since I got started tires, for that reason, I had to take them off last week. So we had to get them off. We put them on this morning after having a hard time looking for them. But you know, in Quebec, we have to change the tires twice a year. So that means 2 seasons, summer and winter. So now I got my summer tires on. I'm good for another 6 months. And after that, we're going back to snow tires. And you know, in this province, you cannot drive a 4-season tire all year round. So we got to do snow tires. If you don't get a snowflake on your tire, you got a ticket during the winter months. And you know, I love this vehicle. I know it's old, it's rusty, but you know what? It does the job. Picks up all the engine blocks I need to do, and does the transportation, everything I need to do. And it keeps me going. Hey, it is a little Ford Ranger, and it's good. And the first headache I had today was I went to my facility place where I store my Challenger and a few parts and a few customer cars. Then they told me that the increase of the rental, and now that's a big price on it, so I'm gonna have to give it up. So now I gotta put some time into that, removing the cars, removing the parts and my stock. The overhead is getting big with me. You know, when you have a shop like that and you have so much overhead, it's not cheap. So now taking care of that place, I gotta empty it out, bring everything here, make more room, and carry on. So I'm staying here tonight because I want to work on the 3D3 rear seal that came in from Detroit that belongs to Kendall that has the matching motor to a 68 Dodge Charger. Yes, we had it put on the dyno when he first brought it in. Before we had taken it apart, we ran it, and yes, he had a major oil leak at the rear seal. I was wondering, was it something else? I got to be sure because after all, he's changed it 6 or 7 times and it kept on leaking. So just to be sure, I ran it on the dyno, and of course, it was the rear seal. So now, I've got the engine back. I also had the crankshaft cut down, filled in, machined to a nice smooth finish because I thought maybe the knurl was not exactly perfect. And if you guys want to walk in the engine room, and we'll take it from there. Look how full my shop is, wall-to-wall muscle cars. I use up every square inch in my shop. And that is the reason why I rented facilities on the other side where they increased the rent. And of course, we have to bring everything back here. We have a few cars on the other side. Maybe it's much easier to have my Kowalski Challenger over here because every time the visitors come, I always have to go to my storage place. So now that I'm going to bring it here, I'll save a few bucks, park it here, so when my visitors come in, my challenge is going to be in my shop. So this way it's easy access. Okay, let's get to that 3D3. Here we are. Okay. 1968 Dodge Charger. It's a 4-speed car, matching motor. This is the one that was leaking really bad. I also wanted to show you guys, like a lot of people ask me, how do you get this rear seal fixed? How do you fix it? You know, I have one way that I do it. I've done it many times, and I've always said 9 out of 10 will work, not leak, and 1 will leak. And I try my best. So is it 100% proof? No. I've tried all kinds of different retainers. Just to say, I use the factory retainer. Yes. And I'm very, very lucky with them. Also, on the market, it is a billet aluminum retainer, which I'm not going to use tonight because most of my viewers that have these big block Mopars, 383, 440, 413, 426 semi, have this factory retainer. And I just wanted to show you guys, I'm going to work with this tonight. And of course, you know, after all this is done, this is going back in the dyno, and then we're going to see if it leaks oil on the rear seal. But tonight, I'm here. I want to show you guys how I install a big block rear seal on the crankshaft. And if you guys notice on our video that when I took this engine apart, that the knurl on the rear finish where the rear seal goes was halfway to 180 degrees there, and the other side was completely gone. After I had the crankshaft removed, I sent the crankshaft to the machine shop. I also had them checked because I told the machine shop that I had a problem with the rear seal. For some reason, that client had changed the seal so many times, it kept on leaking. So he took a look at it the very next day and gave me a call and said, Nick, you know, the circle where the seal sits was not exactly perfect. It was like an egg shape. So what he did is he machined it down, filled it with metal, and then of course he machined it down to a perfect finish so we could have a perfect circle, which is right now the way it is installed into the block. If you guys take a good look, there's no knurling left because the knurl was apparently designed for the rope seal. But since we are using a Viton seal, we don't need that knurling. So this should work. So if you guys take a good look, if you notice I've got 1/2 of the seal installed, offset about 7/16. Take a look. I've got the short block assembly ready for the 33. The only thing I got left to do is put in the window strain in the oil pan and the strainer. But before I do all that, I wanted to install the rear seal with you viewers because a lot of guys are asking me, how do you go about installing the seal? What seal do you use? What silicone do you use? Well, let's get started. All right, first of all, you asked me what kind of seal I use. The one most common I use is the one made by Felpro. This is the number BS40240. And of course, before you do any installation, when you open the pack, you get 2 halves. All right, and if you take a good look, I always make sure that the 2 butts meet each other. So you want to make sure that this perfect circle belong together. So when they cut them, you want to make sure they're not mixed up in a different package. So that's the first thing you do. If you take a look, you see this lip? That points towards the inside of the engine, not like that. See, this is the lip pointing this way is where it points towards the crank. So that's the inboard. So that's one very important thing. Now we know which seal we're using. You got to make sure that 2 butts meet together so you know you have a perfect circle. Then, of course, when you install the seal, I always put one offset. If you take a good look here, you notice I don't put it even. I knock it over about 7/16 of an inch, like so. And a lot of people are telling me, Nick, why don't you use the aluminum billet retainer? Yeah, it works. They both work. I also got a factory retainer. But you know what? I'm going to use the original retainer. The reason why is because all you viewers out there, that most of you guys are trying to fix your oil leak, have this one with the 1-piece seal on the side, like so. Okay? Not like this one. The aluminum billet has 2 little strips, but most of you guys don't have this. So I'll go to simple stuff, keep it original with this one here. And I also do something else I want to show you guys. every time before I wash the retainer, I take a sandpaper, number 80 grit, and I do this. I take this and I file it down like that, like so, okay, on the sandpaper, about 10 strokes, just to bring it down 5 to 6 thou, just to compress the seal a little bit, just on these two ends. But make sure you put equal force when you do so, okay, like so, like this. About 10 strokes and it's good. And then this is going to be your finish right here. All right. So that's another thing I do. Now, what we got to do, another thing, I buy, or should I say, I take 2 bolts about 5 inches long. I cut off the head and I put a slot like so. You see, like I've done here. And I use them as guides. Let me show you guys. I put them right here. Okay, put one here and you put one there. It makes it a lot easier that when you want to put the retainer in place, it slides in and lines up with your seal like so. Especially when you have the engine in the car and you're doing the job from underneath the car, this is what you need. This will help you a lot, you guys. These 2 guides. If you cut off the head, you put a slot like so, like that, then you use a screwdriver to take them out. But when they're jammed, of course you use a screwdriver. But you put them in like this, and that's it. Then that's it. So you leave them there. I use these bolts as a guide. So now I'll put this in for now. And another thing that's very, very important, I take acetone, that you want to make sure that this ends are all super clean, especially there in the corner of the block. Because if there's any oil, no matter how much silicone you put, it's gonna leak oil. So if you want to do something smart, this is what I do. Before you put your guide bolts or your guide pins, whatever you want to call them, what I do is I take a clean rag, acetone. You want to make sure that it's super clean, and you want to make sure you go right into the corners. This is the very, very important area right here. You want no oil stain whatsoever. I've had it cleaned before. I'm just showing you guys, I'm just showing you guys. There we go. Okay. The next thing I want to tell you guys is between the retainer where it butts to the block, I use a certain oil-resistant silicones made by Permatex, part number 59903. It's called Ultra Gray. I'm going to show you what I do with this. I take a little screwdriver and I get the corners with it, and it doesn't need much, like so. Okay, you take it like this and you do this, just to get the corners and the flat part of the metal to metal contact. Okay, and then just a bit on the seal, like so. Then we do the same for the other side. Okay. I've been using this silicone for a while. I've been playing with seals for a long time, and I experimented, but this has been my best luck so far. It's worked for me like 9 out of 10, so that's a pretty good percentage. So let's stick with it. I'm not going to change it. It's worked for me. And by the way, we are going to put this engine back in the dyno, and if it leaks, we're going to find out. If not, we're good. Here we go. So I'm showing you guys this little secret that I've been playing around with so many years, and if it works, then you guys could do the same. And I also do this. I just touch it up here a little bit, like so. You just want to make sure that these 2 flat surfaces, block to retainer, have a good seal. Like I said, if there's any oil, and it doesn't need much silicone, very little bit. Okay? And so.
We can hear you guys screaming at your computers. But Nick, we thought you hated silicone.
No, there's purposes for silicone, and this is where it's a must right here. There's no question about it. Okay? There's no question about it. Like so, just on the ends. Now, we're going to put our guide pins in, like so, which I've made here in my own shop, which are very simple. Like so. We take the retainer like everybody has. Then we get the other half of the seal and we're going to put it offset. So if this side's sticking out, then this side has to be further down, like so. This much. You see that? So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to touch a little bit of silicone here, like so. Here too, like that, just a bit. Then I get my grease. Make sure that that lip points inboard towards the crank, like so. This is crankshaft. This is the outside of the engine. Do you see that lip? That's how it goes. And you don't want to put it dry, so we put some engine assembly lube, like so. Okay. Put that away. Then we're going to slide it in, just like this temporarily. And then we have our strips that go on the end. Now this doesn't need silicone on the side. The reason is because it gets compressed and it squeezes towards the wall between the retainer and the block. You make it stick down about 1/4 inch like so. Then you bring it down slowly, like so. There's a little pressure required. Those guides, you can see, you guys, why I use the guides. It keeps everything much simple. There we go. Then we can take out the guides, like so. All right, now we know that this thing is lined up. We got silicone between the retainer and the block. Then we get the 2 original bolts with the 3/8 12 point, like so. Put them in, tighten them up slightly. You're not gonna tighten them right away, all the way, you guys. I'm gonna show you what to do. Now, I know a lot of guys don't do this, but I do this, just to show you. I'm gonna make it finger tight. Same procedure is when you're doing the seal underneath the car, on the lift, when you don't have the engine out of the car. Of course, here is on an engine stand, it's much easier. So, this is what I do now. I take the ratchet, and as I tighten it down, I slightly cause vibrations. Like so, like this. I know this sounds weird, but you know what? What I'm trying to do is I want to make the seal sit with a little vibration. Like that. So as I'm tightening it, I am causing a little vibration so that the seal can move slowly around and sit in place. And at the same time, I also move the crank back and forth, like so. Let me just show you guys. You know, I've been doing this for a long time and it's worked for me like 90%. Why would I want to change? I'm so far being lucky. So we're going to tighten it down now, like so. I just wanted to make sure that. And of course I walk in back and forth. You know, I know it sounds crazy, but you know what? And there you have it. Tighten it down, make sure it's nice and tight. Now don't forget, this seal was replaced 6-7 times by my client Kendall from Detroit. There we go. I've shown you guys how this is done. We got the Velcro seal in place. It's offset. I cleaned the corners. I put the silicones in the corner. I pushed in the two side seals. I tightened it down, and hopefully now it's all good. You know, one way to find out, let's throw it on the dynamometer and see how it goes. For a future video, you guys, stay tuned, because this is going to be on the dynamometer when it's all done. And then we're going to look at it together to see if it's going to leak. Did I do a good job? If not, we're going to find out. So stay tuned when this engine gets back on the dyno and then be tested. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, you guys, please. You know, look, I spend the morning looking for the tires for my truck, trying to get the seal to make sure it goes perfect. And now I got another issue. You know, it's a dream garage, but you know, it always comes with its problems. Right now, I just wanted to show you guys that I gotta have to replace a relay coil switch on my compressor, which is a 600 volt. It's an 8-year-old compressor. It works overtime in my shop. If you guys want to come and join us upstairs, see what I've gone through, because right now temporarily I cannot use any air in my shop. You know, yeah, we work on the compressed air on many items, cleaning parts, putting air on cleaning blocks, especially when I clean blocks or parts. You know, you want to use compressed air to make sure there's no water stains or anything in the vanes of the block or the crankshaft or anything, seal the heads. So, you know, I'm going to get it fixed. You know, we spent the other night here with Manny. We're trying to figure out what was the problem. Was it a circuit breaker, relays, or whatever? And, you know, after going through it, spending a whole night here with him, that we realized that this is called a coil. So for this reason, I had to search one and try to find the correct model. And it's not a very common piece that you can find in the city. So apparently we've located one. So I'm going to go tomorrow morning, go pick it up, bring it here, spend an hour or two putting it on so I could get the compressor working in the shop. You know, when this piece doesn't work, you know, the shop is out of business. So we got to make sure this compressor works. You know, sometimes you could be working on a beautiful dream car, and sometimes you come up here in the attic in the dust and work on the machinery. And of course, this is what keeps the muscle cars going. One thing in the shop that doesn't need compressed air is my dyno room. So let's take a walk to the dyno room. All we got here is flags from around the world and colorful muscle cars all over the place. All right, here we are in the dyno room, and I've got a 446 pack that belongs to Matthew from British Columbia. You know, it's a dream garage, but you know, we always have our problems. You know, I've built many 446 packs, 6-barrel 440s, and there's a lot of them that are identical, valve job, piston design, compression cylinder pressure, same camshaft profile, and they all made roughly 425, 430 horsepower. But for this one here, I've got an issue. I believe it's a carburetor problem, or carburetor problems, I'm not so sure yet. I believe the diaphragms are dried up, I guess, I'm not so sure. But you know what, I keep making tests and all I got was close to 400 horsepower. I am missing 25 horsepower. I want to get the horsepower of a 426 Hemi. And I noticed that, you know, like all the 6-packs I dyno tested on the dynamometer, you know, when I go full throttle, you see the 6-pack open up so suddenly after a second, about a second after full throttle, they wind up and they kick in the RPM. And for some reason, this one doesn't do it. As soon as I go full throttle, it goes halfway open right away. Then it takes its sweet time to open up full throttle. So we got a camera on the side for you guys to see how it goes. And you know what? Something tells me it's not the way I want it to work. And you know, when I have a 6-pack and then when I put it on full throttle, and then you see the 6-pack goes, whoa, whoa! That's what I want to hear. I'm going to wait for Don from Cortes, Ontario to send me brand new diaphragm so I can get it to see if this is the issue. But in the meantime, let me warm it up and see how it goes. And at the same time, I want to tell you guys that the same procedure on the rear seal of what we've done to this 383 was exactly done on this 446 barrel. You know, it's not safe to keep our cameraman here. So we set up a GoPro right here so you guys can have a visual look how this linkage is going to work. It's not going to work the way I want it to, but you guys take a look and you guys tell me what you think. Are you guys ready? Let's go. So let's make a little test. And then right after that, we're gonna walk in there and see if there's an oil leak without cutting down or shutting down the camera. You guys ready? Let's do it. Okay, now let's go see if there's an oil leak. Without shutting down the camera. There you go. And there you have it, you guys. Like I said earlier, we did the same procedure on this 440, just like that 383 that we just done a few minutes earlier. In the meantime, I hope we took a good video of this, because I'm sure we did not hit 400 horsepower like all the other 6-packs I've done. But I noticed that the linkage is not operating the way I want it to. So for that reason, I spoke to Don in Cortes, Ontario. I spoke to him that we might have an issue with the diaphragms being dried up. So for that reason, I'm not gonna do any further testing. I'm gonna get those so they can work the way they should. Like I said, a 440, when that 6-pack opens up, should just wind up and go, whoa, whoa. And that's what I wanna hear. And I noticed, if you guys noticed also, that it didn't do it in this test. And there you have it, you guys. Did we hit 400 horsepower on this test? Let's see. Here we go. 395. All I did was hit 399, 395 all day long, yesterday and today. So we never hit the magic number. 399 was the maximum horsepower. I'm looking for 425, 430. So we're gonna do some further testing when the parts come in. But in the meantime, there's no oil leak. Engine going is good, except for the carburetors. And then we'll do some further testing in the future. I want to thank you, you guys, for staying late with me here at the shop. You know, it's not the first time I've done this. You know, I've got a lot of my work done. I've got the tires on my truck. I have to clean up my storage. We did the seal on the 383. So I did the dyno testing. You guys noticed that the oil leak, the rear seal did not leak on the 440, which I've done on many tests. And hopefully this goes as well as the 440 when I do the dyno testing, which you guys are going to see when the time comes. And of course, I want to say to everybody to subscribe to my channel, share, press the like button, and thanks for watching us here on Nick's Garage and staying late with me tonight. Thank you. And you guys, if you look down below the video, we have a whole bunch of merchandise that you guys can buy. So whatever you like, buy it, love it, wear it, and enjoy it. And help spread the word of Nick's Garage. And if you have some time, check out our Patreon page. We have extra content and you guys can watch it and take it from there. And we'll see you next time.